the world. Please take seat. Unfortunately, we miss a couple of panelists. Hopefully, they will join us during the development of this session. But in order to be precise with the time, because we have to be responsible with this space, I want to start right now. Yes. Okay. My name is Oscar Rodas. I'm the Director of Policy and Climate Change at WWF Paraguay, a beautiful country in the heart of South America. I will be your moderator here. Please, if you want to hear well or better, you can use the headphones. There will be no translation, but the headphones will help you in order to deal with the ambient noise here. Yeah. The objective of this session is to present and discuss an unified approach for integrating grasslands, savannas, and rangelands to the Rio Conventions. You know, there is a big dialogue right now here at the COP30 about synergies between these three Rio Conventions, and there are some improvement on this, some decision on this. To highlight the actionable recommendations and national success stories, we have here champions from the grasslands, campeones de los pastizales here to share the experiences. Okay, welcome again everyone. Really state the event purpose to accelerate policy actions and consensus for grasslands, savannas, and rangelands in the national and global agendas. We really have to work together to elevate the role of this fantastic biome on our national and regional agendas. To emphasize the global and regional significance of this ecosystem for climate, biodiversity, and community livelihoods. These biomes are the world's largest terrestrial biomes, covering almost 40% of the land area of the planet. This biome accounts for 25 to 30% of terrestrial carbon, and 90% of this terrestrial carbon is stored in the root systems as organic soil carbon. You know, the grassland savanna are, I call it the inverted forest because the organic is below the ground. The session plan today is to present key policy recommendations, keynote speech, expert panel, and to interact with you from the audience. Acknowledge that the speakers, panelists, and partners like WWF, ESPN, SMB, and international initiatives, and thanks them for their leadership and expertise. And for sure, thanks to the Action on Food Hub Pavilion, this beautiful, beautiful place that is convening all the dialogue about food system. Thanks to the organizers, WWF, ILRI, and SMB of this session. To start, I want to invite Martina Frankenstein to take the stage in order to share with us a presentation to setting the scene. Martina is my colleague from WWF International and is the Global Policy Director of Food at WWF International. Martina, please come to the stage. Martina will highlight COP's 30 recommendation from the policy paper protecting the overlooked carbon sink, a policy agenda for grassland. Martina, please go ahead. Please.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and a warm welcome also from my side. And thanks for the introduction from my colleague Oscar Rodas. I'm very pleased to present two policy papers we have launched in context with the COP, and papers which we think are very important, which are about the importance of considering grassland as a carbon sink. Just to reiterate why grassland matters. So first of all, grassland, the landmass, 45% of our territorial land is grassland. And grassland is important for wildlife, it's important for carbon, and it's important for people. And it's especially important, it stores a lot of carbon. 33% of the terrestrial carbon is in grassland. And this is very often overseen and not respected in the way how it should be considered. There's a huge stress to native grassland. And we had here a discussion about deforestation, but we also really have to discuss the topic of conversion of grassland, of pastoral land, of rangeland, and which is not really considered in the way we want to see this. And the second topic is that carbon stores and the importance of having carbon as grasslands as a carbon storage also needs more important and more recognition. There are alarming levels besides the conversion of grasslands is the degradation of grasslands. 1.7 million hectares are converted annually, and what we also need to consider, and this is a figure I'm carrying away now or with me since years, that only 8% of grasslands are legally protected. That's a very small number, and we need more protected grasslands globally and especially at national level. In this context, WWF and partners, we have developed a policy paper, and at the end of the presentation you will see the barcode, where we really want to put in the key messages when we talk about grassland and rangeland. Once again, grasslands store large carbon pools. They require a better management and protection. They also need to be considered as an important ecosystem for climate adaptation and for mitigation. And we need really to support the whole restoration topic of grasslands and rangelands, and we are very happy that at the next UNCCD COP in Mongolia, grassland and rangelands will play a very important role. What are the solutions? One of the solutions is really, and this is a recommendation, we really want to see grassland better integrated in global and in particular in national policies. This means in the climate policies, the nationally determined contribution, in the national biodiversity strategy and action plans, and also in the land degradation neutrality targets. Considering the NDCs, we have just launched, or we will launch next week, an assessment where we have assessed the 58 NDCs which had been submitted by mid of October, and only 15 are including, 15 are including grasslands. So there is a lot of room for improvement at the moment. Negative impacts on grassland have harmful subsidies, which really needs to be repurposed. It's about subsidies which are not in a positive way supporting grassland and rangeland. And also, just one point is we need more investment and to figure out the added value of grasslands and rangelands. Oops, that's the next one. Yeah, and it's about what I mentioned. It's about the whole topic of overgrazing and undergrazing and the whole management and restoration of grassland. And we also need to consider, and it's great that we have the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists next year, we need to support smallholder, we need to support pastoralists, because 34% of people are living in this area. This is a kind of, we have to secure land tenure. It's about a participatory land planning process we need, where really also smallholder and pastoralists are involved. And grassland should not be seen as something which you could use for everything. And also it needs a better understanding for everybody of the values of grassland. And this is just a short summary. We need to reduce and eliminate conservation. We have to support area-based conservation. We have to look at landscape implementation. And we have to look at climate and biodiversity finance. It's also going to the rangeland, to grassland, and to savannas. You will find more in this publication. This is the barcode. It's on our website. And this is the first publication we have made, and I have 3 more slides just to talk a little bit about WWF's role. So what WWF is doing, we have a global grassland and savanna initiative, which was established some years back. It's an initiative where we bring together science, government, civil society, but also the private sector to strengthen the message of the importance of grassland and savannas. We want to influence, and that we're doing, as I already mentioned, global and national commitments and agendas. We are developing policy guidance like the one you have seen right now, strengthening the implementation. We are currently developing some GCF projects for grassland in Africa, and also really fostering relations with members, with governments, and it's great to have this event here together with ILRI and with SNV. Oops. And these are the countries we are focusing on where we have the grassland. And this is another publication which we have launched recently at the IUCN conference. It's From Roots to Rises. It's Priority Policies, Investment and Decisions for Grassland and Savannas. It's longer than the policy paper, but it's good to have a read. And just to add, at the IUCN conference in Abu Dhabi, which happened 2 weeks back, we also made 3 resolutions on grassland. So there is also now grassland and rangelands are in the overall program of the IUCN Secretariat, which we think is also a huge success. And I think thank you. And I also want to mention that my colleague Leonie, she's leading our International Grassland Initiative. So if you have any requests, please also feel free to reach out to Leonie. Thank you. Okay.
Many thanks to Martina to setting the scene, to share with us this new publication that we can all reach and look for it. Let me check, is Braulio Diaz here or it's not? Unfortunately, Braulio didn't arrive yet. We are waiting for Braulio as a keynote speaker, but we will move straight to the panel. I want to invite to the panel to Mr. Guillerme, please. Guillerme 8 has been working for almost 20 years in civil society organizations and international cooperation systems. As a lawyer, he has a master's degree in law, state, and constitution, with an emphasis on public policies and democracy. He is a specialist in public health law and environmental analysis, and has knowledge on project and program management. Welcome, Guillermo, to this panel. Thank you very much for being here. Our next panelist I want to invite to be here at the stage is Al-Hassan Atahiru, is the program manager of the Confederation of Traditional Stock Breeders Organization, CORET, from West Africa Regional Pastoralist Organization based in Nigeria. For more than 20 years, he had worked with non-indigenous pastoralists in the region, helping advance their voices and interests. Welcome Atahiru to this panel. Next, we have Facundo Chiefo. Please, Facundo, take seat in the panel. Welcome. Facundo is studied literature and philosophy at the University of Buenos Aires and trained as a naturalist and the NGO Aves Argentinas, Birds of Argentina. Specializing in biodiversity and human protected areas, he worked for 5 years managing protected areas in the autonomous city of the wonderful city of Buenos Aires, successfully implementing the Lago Lugano Ecological Reserve. He currently serves as the advisor to the Ministry of the Environment of the province of Buenos Aires. Welcome, Facundo. And now I want to invite Jarko. Jarko, please join us. Jarko is an experienced manager with a solid understanding of climate adaptation, food system, natural resources management, and sustainable development issues. He's a recognized and positive engaged leader with a results-driven professional approach and a strong interest in learning and innovation. Jarko has a proven track record delivering a multi-country portfolio of complex projects on time within budgets and created impact. Welcome, Jarko, to this panel. Okay, everyone, I want to start with Guilherme. Guilherme, I can repeat, is a policy and advocacy coordinator from the Institute for Society, Population and Nature, ESPN. Guilherme, how can on-the-ground conservation effort to protect the Cerrado biome be translated into stronger national policies to stop grassland conversion? Can I add a complementary question? What gaps remain in aligning these actions with the Brazil NDC and LDN targets? And how can policy frameworks better support sustainable land use in the Cerrado? Guilherme, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here and speak about the Cerrado, one of the most biodiverse savanna in the world, and also one of the most threatened. As mentioned, I represent ISPN, which over 30 years has supported community-based conservation and sustainable use in the Cerrado through the Fundo Ecosocial, Fundo Ecos Fund. We work with hundreds of local initiatives led by traditional people, family farmers, and grassroots organizations that are protecting biodiversity and improving their livelihoods. Local conservation as national leverage, what can I say on that? On the ground, these communities are not only covering or conserving nature, they're also restoring landscapes, managing fire, and building sustainable economies. Through the Ecos Fund, we have supported initiatives such as collective fire management that prevent destructive wildfires, community seed banks preserving native biodiversity, ecological production, and native product value chains that generate income while keeping vegetation standing. This experience shows that effective solutions already exist at the local level. What is missing is the connection between these realities and national policy frameworks. Too often, the knowledge and data from community-led conservation remain invisible to decision makers. Regarding policy gaps and the need for recognition, I may say that the Brazil's NDC and land degradation neutrality targets are ambitious, but in fact, they still largely focus on forest. The Cerrado, a mosaic of grasslands, scrublands, and also forest, does not fully fit in this forest-centered model. As a result, many policies and restoration programs risk converting native grasslands into forest plantations, undermining both biodiversity and local livelihoods. To close this gap, national strategies must explicitly recognize grasslands and savannas as vital ecosystems with their own ecological and social value. This means they need to include community-based restoration and fire management in the NDCs and LDN implementation, securing community land rights and traditional territories, and also adapting monitoring indicators beyond tree cover to include biodiverse soil and water functions. On the integration of the Rio Conventions, I may say that the Cerrado also teaches that climate, biodiversity, and land restoration goals cannot be treated separately. They are all part of the same landscape. To integrate the three conventions, the three Rio Conventions, we need policy coherence. And the Cerrado can be a model for that. Aligning climate finance with biodiversity outcomes, rewarding low carbon livelihoods based on native vegetation, and also using biodiversity indicators to guide agriculture and territorial planning. This integrated approach could turn the Cerrado into a global example on how to operationalize the climate, biodiversity, and land nexus. Community participation is essential. Local organizations know how to manage land sustainably, and they often lack access to funding and policy space. Through small, flexible grants, the ECOS Fund has shown how empowering communities can generate innovation, data, and ownership, all crucial for scaling up sustainable land management. Public programs could replicate this model to institutionalize community-led conservation as a core component of the national environmental policy. A new vision for the Cerrado is needed. Ultimately, we must stop seeing the Cerrado as an area to be converted for agribusiness purpose and start seeing it as a lively landscape of people and nature. To meet the NDCs and LDN goals, Brazil needs to shift from land conservation to land stewardship, recognizing the role of traditional people, family farmers, and grassroots conservationists as key actors in climate and biodiversity action. If we bring these lessons from these local initiatives into national policies, the Cerrado can lead Brazil's contributions to a just and sustainable transition, one that values not only carbon, but also culture, knowledge, and life itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guilherme. Thank you, thank you. Now I'm moving to Harco. Harco is a global lead on climate and food system for SMB Netherlands, a development organization. Welcome again, Harco. Harco, can you share a West African case study from SMB on land restoration and protection? And what were the critical success factors, and how can these experiences inform broader grassland restoration strategies? Go ahead, Harco.
Thank you. So, yeah, we are in the Amazon today, but in West Africa, we learned other things from pastoralism. In the Amazon, we have learned that forests with people have higher biodiversity, are better managed, and what the lessons I'm bringing you from West Africa, and our colleague Alassane will bring us as well, that is pasture, grasslands, and savannas with people, with pastoralists, are better managed, have a higher carbon storage, biodiversity, and soil health. And I think that's the key element of success when restoring land and protecting rangelands and grasslands. 500 million pastoralists depend on these grasslands. 1/4 of their country's GDP is based on managing these grasslands, and also 10% of world's protein comes from pastoralists. So I think that is where I will start. In West Africa, pastoralist communities are suffering tremendously from climate change and confront several obstacles also along the range of routes and migration, demographic shifts, and also the growth of agricultural land encroaching and making more difficult that mobility. And on top of that, in many countries in West Africa, the governance and the fragility of the countries also doesn't help pastoralists to move towards becoming climate resilient. So SMV, we're focusing on bolstering the resilience in climate-affected regions in the Sahel and also in the Horn of Africa. And we do that by promoting peaceful pastoral mobility and facilitating territorial integration. That I think that's very key to manage the conflicts that sometimes arise between livestock, agriculture, nature, and other claims that are made on the land. We do that perhaps with 3 examples. One is digital, helping pastoralists with digital information services to find and utilize the best those rangelands. So, for example, in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, we set up Garbal, a service that we are using satellite data and GSM phone mobile applications to enable pastoralists with reliable information on biomass, water availability, market prices along these routes, and help them take better and informed decisions. And this service has already been reached 1 million people in these 3 countries that I mentioned. The second is with territorial planning. I think we need to start, SMV promotes multi-stakeholder dialogues and inclusive investments to ensure that we talk and integrate livestock with other initiatives in that things. And this needs time. These are long year investment, 10 years to set up this thing. So we have 2 large projects, and I would love to talk with Alassane about them. Pro Arides, a project on dryland management of a 10-year project, and Soil Values, which is a soil health program in 4 countries, including Nigeria, trying to reach 21 different landscapes and 3 million people. So you need to scale. You need solutions we have, but we need now to mobilize finance towards bigger partnerships. And finally, I think the restoration. And I think restoration and protection on grasslands and pastoral lands include the development of water and forage infrastructure, restoring soil health, implementing agroecological practices, and strengthening the pastoral cooperative and market linkages. So we do that many times also through farmer-led natural regeneration processes. So the most successful regeneration activities are and must be farm-led. And finally, my key message to you is really, in West Africa, SMV position pastoralism not as a vulnerability. I think it is a pillar of resilience in fragile Sahelian context. By safeguarding mobility, rehabilitating grasslands ecosystem, and integrating livestock systems into local governments and food security strategies, the program strengthens climate resilience, livelihood, and peace building across Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Nigeria corridor. And I think that I think is a key approach in restoring grasslands.
Thank you very much, Harko. A big applause for Harko. It's a beautiful example from West Africa. Now I want to move to Attahiru Al-Hassan. He is from the program manager, Confederation of Traditional Stock Breeders Organization, CORET, at West Africa too, the same region. It's a regional pastoralist organization based in Nigeria. Please, Attahiru, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for having me to speak about the landscape, the grassland in West Africa. There's need to take 1 or 2 minutes to give the context of how the West African landscape is. It is bordered by the Sahara Desert, which is fast approaching into the grassland and moving towards the coast. And there are about 16 countries along that are covered by the Sahara grasslands. That is from Senegal up to Nigeria. And because of the Sahara encroachment into the grassland, pastoralists for years have adopted a mobility system. That is a strategy to maintain their livelihoods and also cope up with the impact of the the climate change caused by the Sahara. And this has been for more than 200 years as far as we know. So when my friend is talking about the stock routes, we need to understand what he's talking about. What he's saying is that at the peak of the dry season, or at the beginning of the dry season, livestock will move southward. And for years, they have been identified, and many countries have even indicated beacons, to say, okay, this now is a route between point A and point B. No building, no farming, no projects, no nothing. So it's dedicated for the livestock movement. And to go on, also in some other countries, they now say, okay, if these livestock are moving into another country, where would they be based? Because to remove the issues of conflict over natural resource use, countries like Nigeria designated certain areas are what we call the grazing reserves. So for me, this is the first step of land planning or land use planning. And it has been there for many years. But the challenges we are facing currently is people see such grazing reserves as no man's land, as if nobody owns the land. So certain governments will now say, okay, we want to convert it to a forest, or we want to convert it into a modern dairy company. And they take this land that was meant for pastoralists that are doing their traditional livestock breeding now into modern livestock production. And it's aging out this large population. I don't want to mention the companies that are victims of this, because maybe this is not a good space for that. But many of these big dairy companies, global dairy companies, they are victims of taking over lands that supposed to be for the traditional pastoralists, but now it is being converted into ranches and dairy farms. So if we understand this context, then we now understand that, just as he said, the pastoralists are the most resilient people I can think of, because in the mobility track, you pass through many countries, and the legislation in these countries differ, and every day the laws are being changed. So they have to find a way, to navigate these barriers. For example, Benin Republic, they said there should be no livestock movement into their own territory. But before even Benin was known as a country, these routes have existed. So, but now, with this legislation, they have to divert from going into Benin Republic, go into Nigeria, and there'll be high density of livestock within the Nigerian landscape. And what is the grassland that suffers? So we see this as a way of exhibiting their own resilience in coping up with this climatic change. But when you look at it globally, there is an initiative that has been established about 20 years ago. It is called the GGW, the Great Green Wall Project. It starts from Djibouti in the Horn of Africa, and it goes to Senegal in West Africa. And what the project is all about is they want to have a forest belt, that will now be a barrier between the savanna and then the Sahara. So to reduce the advancement of the Sahara into the grasslands. So this initiative is on. Many countries have taken their own part. They have planted the forest, and it's there. You can check maybe for more details on that. But we as pastoralists, we feel it's a good initiative, but it is not being appreciated from the national governments, because it's supposed to be an integrated approach. That is to involve the pastoralists and also the co-farmers in it. But we, as an organization, we have conducted some surveys. We discovered that the pastoralists are even more aged out. They now say, no, this is a World Bank project, and you can't go close to it. So it's adding more pressure on the pastoralists rather than relieving it. And so it's one of the key challenges we feel that needs to be interrogated further is what is the benefit of this GGW project on livestock specifically. If we are able to get this, then fine. But at the micro level, just as my friend said, there are so many initiatives. I know about the digital map he is talking about. There's presence of SMV in West Africa, and they are doing a great job in passing information to the pastoralists. But still, we feel that there's need also to fine-tune the system because there's the issue of language. You know, largely the West African countries, they are French-speaking, but some few are English-speaking. So when you want to access that, you access it in French, which is not helping the Anglophone countries, you know, to benefit from that digital platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A big applause for Atahiru Al-Hassan to share this. I want to invite Facundo CFO, advisor to the Ministry of the Environment of the province of Buenos Aires. Facundo have a couple of PowerPoint slides. Maybe, Facundo, you can move here. You can use this microphone. Facundo will speak in Spanish, but the slides are in English, and I can help to translate. Please, this is forward and backward. I want to remember that there is a YouTube live transmission right now. There are plenty of people assisting to this by YouTube. Thank you to the Food Action Hub for this. Facundo, the stage is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I have the presentation to support me, so, well, I will speak in Spanish. Primero, para ubicarnos, estamos en la provincia de Buenos Aires. La provincia de Buenos Aires es la provincia más grande, más poblada y aporta el mayor porcentaje de PBI a Argentina. Y cuento esto porque además la mitad de las exportaciones que produce la provincia de Buenos Aires vienen de la agricultura y la ganadería. Esto tiene que ver con la transformación que ha tenido nuestro territorio a lo largo del tiempo. La provincia la podemos dividir en 5 ecorregiones. La ecorregión Pampa, que es la que está en verde, green, es la ecorregión que alberga la mayor cantidad de suelo fértil y de pastizales en la provincia y es la más extensa. La podemos dividir en 4 regiones: la Pampa ondulada, la Pampa interior, la Pampa austral y la Pampa deprimida. Y la Pampa deprimida, que es la que está in the center, es la región más baja y por lo tanto es la que ha sido menos modificada por la agricultura. El cinturón que la rodea es un cinturón donde se cultiva mucha soja, mucho trigo, mucho maíz y los pastizales se conservan muy poco. En el extremo este...
¿Puedo traducir esa parte un poquitito?
Sí.
Yes, Facundo is mentioning that at the center of the map is the low Pampa, that is the more well preserved, but surrounded by soy and other crops.
En el extremo este de la Pampa deprimida nos encontramos con la bahía de San Borombón, que es donde se junta el río de la Plata y el mar argentino. Esta región, que tuvo una ingresión marina hace 6.000 años, se conservan sus pastizales en bastante buen estado de conservación y aquí tenemos algunas imágenes de lo que podemos ver. Lo que el naturalista inglés William Hudson decía en el siglo XIX, el mar de pastos todavía se puede observar en esta parte de la Pampa bonaerense. Y además, en este lugar todavía persiste la subpoblación de venado de las pampas más amenazada de nuestro país. Quedan menos de 200 individuos y este cérvido, que es uno de los 8 cérvidos de Argentina y es uno de los 8 monumentos naturales declarados por la provincia de Buenos Aires, bueno, está bastante amenazado por chanchos salvajes, jabalís, perros, ciervos exóticos como el ciervo dama y el ciervo axis y el sobrepastoreo. Por eso nosotros abordamos una estrategia integral de conservación de estos pastizales deprimidos con el venado de las pampas como especie bandera. Y la estrategia tiene que ver con fortalecer el sistema de áreas protegidas y vincular las áreas protegidas privadas con las provinciales, una estrategia de control y manejo de especies exóticas invasoras y trabajar con los productores rurales para mejorar las prácticas de manejo ganadero. Brevemente les cuento, este es un mapa de las áreas protegidas de esta región de la bahía de San Borombón. Los distintos colores referencian no solo áreas protegidas de diferente categoría, sino también de distinta gestión y jurisdicción. Aquí encontramos áreas protegidas nacionales, provinciales, municipales y privadas.
Looking to the colors, you can see a combination of private, national, and provincial protected areas. It's like a system, a curved system of this kind of areas in the San Borondón Bay.
Thank you. El Ministerio de Ambiente de la provincia es nuevo, tiene 4 años y desde que nosotros empezamos estamos fortaleciendo las áreas protegidas con obras. Logramos enviar a la legislatura provincial una ley de guardaparques que mejora las condiciones de trabajo de los guardaparques bonaerenses. Estamos haciendo censos del venado de las pampas para conocer mejor sus poblaciones. Incluimos a las reservas privadas mediante normativa dentro del sistema de áreas protegidas provincial. Y estamos trabajando con Fundación Vida Silvestre Argentina, que es partner de WWF, en avanzar en una efectividad de manejo de las áreas, medir la efectividad de manejo de las áreas protegidas provinciales y indagar en mecanismos de financiamiento innovadores para el sistema en general. En cuanto a las especies exóticas invasoras, principalmente abordamos el jabalí, que es la más preocupante. Y lo que logramos hacer era una especie que no estaba declarada plaga por la provincia, hoy en día lo está, y además estamos trabajando con los productores rurales, los dueños de campos privados y cazadores para hacer una caza de control bajo lineamientos y protocolos que define la autoridad de aplicación y poder comercializar los subproductos obtenidos del jabalí. Y por último, el manejo ganadero. Quizás aquí lo más importante para resaltar es que logramos modificar la ley de creación del venado de las pampas como monumento natural e implementar un sistema donde los productores rurales que tengan un manejo ganadero más sostenible tengan una reducción del 50% del impuesto inmobiliario.
This is a very key element that they are very new at the Secretary of Environment of Buenos Aires province, the biggest in the country, only 4 years, from starting 4 years ago. And now they are adjusting, they are modifying the Pampas Deer legislation in order to give the private landowners an important reduction on taxes.
Bueno, y para responder brevemente las preguntas que me habías hecho, como lecciones lo que podemos decir es que, y que se evidencia en esta estrategia, ya lo sabíamos pero lo hemos comprobado al implementar el proyecto, no podemos depender solamente de la conservación en áreas protegidas estatales. Tenemos que abordar la conservación de los pastizales y especies clave como el venado de las pampas de una manera integral, trabajando con la producción, trabajando con medidas normativas, con medidas fiscales y con los distintos actores. Por eso,
answering the question that I started with Facundo, Facundo mentioned that at the province of Buenos Aires, they cannot work only with provincial protected areas. They have to integrate private protected areas to work with producers and to create like a system of incentives in order to integrate all these complementary measures to protect the grasslands and to put in the focus to the Pampas deer, that is a natural monument declared by the Buenos Aires province.
bueno, y para terminar, en cuanto a la mitigación vinculada a la evitación del cambio de uso del suelo en los pastizales, quisiera mencionar 2 cosas. Primero, hay un aspecto técnico para nosotros como gobierno subnacional, resulta de alta complejidad y tiene altos costos de abordaje, por ejemplo, las certificaciones para mercados de carbono. En Argentina hay una sola provincia que ha logrado avanzar en mecanismos de este estilo, como Misiones, y con otro tipo de ecosistemas que son las selvas. Entonces ahí aparece también otra problemática, que es cómo lograr que los pastizales tengan otra relevancia en el escenario global y que puedan participar de estos proyectos, que hasta ahora para nosotros, si bien hemos intentado trabajarlo, no ha sido fácil. Y continúo.
Sí.
Y por otro lado, hay una complejidad política, que es un poco el mensaje que nuestra ministra de Ambiente ha venido a traer a la COP en sus distintas exposiciones, que tiene que ver con el acceso de los gobiernos subnacionales al financiamiento de distintos proyectos de fondos globales. En ese sentido, creo que todos, ONGs y gobiernos subnacionales, tenemos que trabajar en conjunto para poder plantear que los gobiernos subnacionales tengan acceso directo al financiamiento y a los fondos multilaterales. Gracias. Daniela Vilar.
Okay. Facundo mentioned that Daniela Vilar, that is the Ministry of Environment of Buenos Aires province, is here. ¿Está aquí?
Ya se fue. Pero estuvo.
Was here at the COP30 in order to overcome a political barrier, because we have to work together, civil society and subnational governments, provincial governments, to overcome the barrier to access to international financing. You know, Argentina is a federative government and they are struggling with the access to finance to the provinces. And the other answer is that to access to the carbon markets is very complex in the case of the grassland in Buenos Aires, because it takes a lot of investment. There are some provinces like Misiones that are advancing on this carbon scheme, but they are trying. They have the political will of the Buenos Aires province, but they need support and they need to overcome these barriers. Thank you very much, Facundo.
Thank
Please
you.
take seat. And I want to invite Harco and all the colleagues to the panel again in order to take a couple of questions, because we are running out of time. I'm sorry for this. Now I want to open to the audience to raise your hands and take the microphone. We have a microphone over there in order to make some questions to the panelists. Please, go ahead. Someone want to make a question? Martina? The college? Okay. Is there no question? I can move with some question. Guillermo, you mentioned the central role of the Cerrado and the participation of the local communities. Could you explain a little more about this synergy between local people and the conservation of this important biome? Please, Guillermo.
Thank you for asking. The Cerrado, as I mentioned, is a living space, a living landscape. And in a certain way, we should try to understand that protecting grasslands means also protecting biodiversity, storing carbon, managing hydrological cycles, and supporting resilient rural economies. And traditional people and local communities, family farmers, they are over this biome, connecting different areas. They are, how can I say, producing, managing, and improving their livelihoods through the sustainable use of biodiversity. And it's also really important that they could be included, and we should overcome this forest-centered focus on carbon and planting trees to understand that many and different other restoration projects cannot go against the territorial and landscape rights of local communities. And this is happening so much in the Cerrado. Lots of land grabbing issues, conflicts, and really displacement of people and local communities. Right now, different policies, like for example UDR in European Union, are also forest-centered, and it may cover only 26% of the Cerrado, with several difficulties to understand where the forest starts and where the savanna is there. then we together, my organization, even with Jan Timmers from WWF and other people from WWF and other networks in Europe, we have been advocating to in favor of the Cerrado being considered under the under the UDR, but we know and we understand the political context right now in European Union and the difficulties we are facing there. But for sure, getting the perspective of how local communities, indigenous people, family farmers are living on this place, should be considered when we are talking about not only the forest protection or no cleaning the area, but also when we are talking about the due diligence and compliance with national legislation. Because even the Brazilian framework that has been prepared to look for that is not considering the social rights of local communities there. They are just looking for the CAR, our rural cadastre, which means is self-declaration made by the people that is land grabbing the area. Then there is no protection to their rights. And this is also some way to get more coherence among policies. We are looking just for a small piece of the legitimacy of the production of the soybeans or beef in that region. We are not looking for the land rights of traditional and local communities. It should be that. And if it's possible, I just would like to emphasize a new opportunity of collaboration and engagement that we are working on here in this COP30, which is the launching of the Global Forum of Local Communities on Climate Change. This forum will fulfill a gap within this climate regime because we don't have a proper representation of local communities here in this space. And this is why my friend here, Al Hassan Jaoji, is here. And if it's possible, I would like to ask him if he could share a little bit more on the importance of this space and how we are moving forward in the direction to be recognized as a legitimate, self-determined, autonomous caucus for the local community representations here.
Hassan, can you
Well, thank you
take the
very
lead
much.
on this, please?
Yes, for us, pastoralists in Africa in general, I don't want to say in West Africa, but in Africa general, we feel that we are not properly represented in the LCIPP, the Local Community and Indigenous People Platform. Why are we saying so? Because the concept of pastoralism is defined by different people and in different contexts. Now, for some pastoralists, they come to this space, they speak in the context of being them sedentary. They are permanently in one place. So for them, the challenges they are facing, they are different from the mobile pastoralists. It's not the same. And when we say we need a space to come here and say make our views known, they'll say, no, you are already represented by the indigenous people. So you who are the mobile pastoralists, it's the same pastoralism. That's the way we understand it. So we give you one slot, and they come and they talk about those people that are sedentary, and that is not giving the mobile pastoralists the voice they require. In fact, for me, I feel that COP30 is already a success to pastoralists, especially those from West Africa, because now we've been given at least a space, and we have said some of the issues that are facing us to this caucus that is, under formation. So I think it's something that we want, and it's something that we deserve to have. Yes.
A big applause to the pastoralism actors that they are here. We are running out of time. Harko, a question for you. How can international cooperation accelerate grassland conservation and sustainable use of at the national level?
I think two ways. I think if I hear this conversation, I think we should see mobility as a nature-based solution. if national governments and international recognize pastoral mobility as a nature-based solution to restore and sequester carbon, we may have something on our hands. I think. What I see in West Africa, and this example of Green Great Wall is one. Why does that get financed? Because it's fixed. It is a store above ground, and there's a clear owner of that tree. How can we just do the same for restoring grasslands? How can we mobilize carbon finance, climate finance towards these areas? So I think this is, I would say, a daring solution I would put up front of recognizing pastoral mobility as a nature-based solution. And the second thing is the territorial aspects. I think there is if we are going to make pastoralists sedentary by giving them fixed land rights where they can only graze there, then you have two problems. First, they will not be able to move from season and adapt to the changes of climate change. And secondly, we will have a food security crisis because many cities depend on pastoralism for food security. So I think this is an example of we need to integrate natural resource management and avoid this type of maladaptation and keep not necessarily fixed land rights, but user rights. Keep the user rights and mobility, because also agricultural ask pastoralists to come and graze because they deposit manure on their land, and that improves agriculture in the rainy season. So those dynamics we need to understand in the Sahel.
Thank you very much. Facundo, 20 seconds for a final message. Un mensaje final. Go ahead.
Hola, ahí está. Bueno, ya que estuvieron hablando de gobernanza, me parece importante resaltar ese asunto, ¿no? Y como lo mencionaba antes, creo que es importante trabajar con todos los actores implicados. Por eso nosotros abordamos una estrategia integral con actores privados, con ONGs y el Estado provincial presente. Me parece que es inevitable abordar esta estrategia con los propietarios de las tierras, con quienes habitan el territorio. Me parece que ese es el mensaje clave de gobernanza.
Perfecto. The key message from Facundo from the Buenos Aires province is that governance is the key, that they as a provincial authorities, they have to work with producers, with the private reserve owners in order to create this space for the pampas deer, for the grassland over there. This is the key message. I'm sorry, we're really running out of time. I'm closing with these messages. The urgency of integrated policies, the benefits of conservation and sustainable management, and the role of multi-stakeholder collaborations, to highlight promising solutions and lessons shared by our panelists here from the Cerrado, from the West Africa, from Buenos Aires province, and to encourage all the participants to continue the dialogue with the champions of the grassland here and in other parts of the world, savanna and rangelands, in the issues in their own world and context. And finally, thanks to all the speakers, to Martina, the sponsors, the Action on Food Pavilion, and all the attendees online and in person to be part of this session. Thank you very much, and a big success for you. A big applause. Thank you. A group photo with Martina and the panelists here.